Pan is the god that was mentioned already very nicely here. Okay? And Yon means the place of. So the place of Pan. Why is it mentioned here? Pan is a Greek god. Please, the Greek gods lived where? In Greece. That's very logical. Okay? But for some reason, the idea of Pan immigrated from Greece to here. And the question is why? And the answer is as follows. A Roman historian called Plobius, that's his name, Plobius, it's like Flavius, but not, it's Plobius, that's his name, Plobius. And Plobius writes that there was a major battle at the year 198 BC between two major powers, that one of them was in control of the land of Israel and one of them was in control of Syria. Those two big empires are called the House of Seleucides or Seleucus and the House of Ptolemy down in Egypt. Who is Ptolemy? Who is the Seleucides? These are two generals of the most famous Greek king that ever was, and I'm sorry to tell you that he wasn't Greek, but his name is Alexander the Great. Okay? Alexander the Great, who conquered in 12 years the whole of the world, okay, that was known at that time. He called more than 50 cities after him, only one that you know today, Alexandria in Egypt, but 50 cities around his empire were called Alexandropolis, Alexandria, etc. When he died, there was one little issue. He had one little heir, and he was poisoned very quickly after Alexander died. And all of his friends, it used to be his friends, his generals, decided to fight. And they all wanted to be Alexander. And the problem is when you have 10 Alexanders, what happens is you start splitting up the huge empire that Alexander did. And two of his generals are the two that are important to you. One of them is Ptolemy, who's going to be the king in Egypt. He's a general of Alexander, but he's going to build a dynasty, a house. So a dynasty equals a house. The house of Ptolemies down in Egypt. And another general, Seleucides, up here in the north, okay, in the area of Syria. And he's going to do a dynasty. So again, the dynasty is going to be called the dynasty of the Seleucids, okay, up here in Syria. And the land of Israel is always going to be on the border of these two main countries. So from roughly the year 300 BC till minus 198, the land is going to be under the Ptolemies' reign, okay, down from Egypt. So there, this is going to be the northern parts of the empire. At the year 198, again BC, the Seleucids are going to attack the Ptolemies, and the main battle is going to happen here. And Plobius writes about this battle. How is this battle called? Most battles are called after the place that they happen. So he calls it the Battle of Panion. And that's the first time that we hear the name Panion in this area. He tells us that in that battle, both sides brought elephants as what? Why do you bring an elephant to a battle? Exactly, there was a tanks at that time. Okay, the major event was an elephant. Okay, you don't want to be underneath an elephant, right? You want to be on top of the elephant. Okay, reminding you of the story that happened in the Maccabi book, but not now. And then something happened to the elephants, he says. Something made them to panic. And the elephants, okay, of the Ptolemies turned around and stampled the soldiers of the Ptolemies. So the elephants of the Ptolemies literally went against them. And that's how the Seleucids won the Battle of Panion. Now, the nice lady who reminded me your name, sorry? Rachel. Rachel said to you that panic, the word pun, and panic comes together. You can hear it in the word panic. And funny enough, Plobius tells us That's why they thought Pan resides here. Because Pan makes things panic. The elephant panic, so here we go. Pan lives around this area. It's not enough. Pan in Greek means everything. Nature. Okay? So Pan is going to be inside the forests. All the time when you talk about Pan, it's the forest. It's the streams. It is said that he has a cave inside the forest. And soon enough, we're going to see the major cave that's here, right here, on this cliff. So it's not only that there's panic. When you look at the surroundings and you think about Pan, the god of many things, the shepherds, the forests, Pan as everything, as nature, the god of nature. When you hear in Banias, you can really feel it. So the first time in history that we hear the word Panyon, minus 198, the battle. What can I find from that? What can you find from a battle?
Weapons.
Can I find a house, a building? What archaeological findings can we find? Maybe elephants. Spearheads. Okay, and it's a battle in a major field, very big, very long. Would you find something? Very hard to find. And I'm going to say the following. We haven't found anything from 198 BC. Nothing that you can see. You can talk about it, but you can't see anything. The next time that the word Panyon is mentioned in history is almost 150 years down the line. At the time of King Herod the Great. If you haven't heard the name, you'll hear it a lot. Don't worry. Specifically in this course, specifically in this land. Okay. Although you can talk about Herod in different lands as well. He donated many buildings around the world. But King Herod was the big builder, and 3 major temples that he erected for his emperor friend called Augustus. One he built in Caesarea Maritima, Caesarea on the sea. The other one he built in Sebastia in Samaria. And the 3rd temple Herod built for Augustus. Funny enough, how is the temple for Augustus called? Augusteum, that's the name of a temple for Augustus. Augusteum. The 3rd Augusteum that Herod built was in a place called Panyon. Funny enough. In a place called Panyon. So that's why we hear about this place. What can we find from the second mentioning in history of Panyon? We should find a temple. For many, many years, the thought was that a temple just in front of the cave, and I'll show you remnants of that temple, was the temple that Herod built for Augustus. Today we know that it's not. And the temple that was built for Augustus is a few kilometers away from him, in another place called Khirbet Omarit. Khirbet Omarit. And when you're going to be tour guides in a few years, hopefully next year already, in like 10 or 15 or 20 years, they'll open that as a national park. They already promised that 5 years ago. But when they open it, you can go and see a beautiful temple that was built at the time of King Herod. Now my story twists. Herod would die. And Herod, as a great king, will have a problem. His children are not as great as him. And he has 3 children. Okay, he killed 2. Few others he moved aside. But 3 that survived his graces will divide the land between them. Okay? One would be in the south. His name is Archelaus. And he's going to build a town after his own name, funny enough. And he's going to call that town Archelaus. Okay, it's in the Jordan Valley, next to a place called Ujjah. His second son, Orudus Antipas, is going to build a new city. He's going to call it after the emperor of that time. And he's going to build a city called Tiberias. And I hope you know that city. If not, you will know it till the end of this course.
What's the name of the son?
Horus Antipas. Antipas was Horus' father. Yes, he called him after his name and the grandfather. The third son, that's the one that's important to you now. All three of them are very important to you. But the one that's important here, his name is Philippus or Philip. Okay, in English it's Philip. It's just a shortening of Philippus. And he's going to call his city in two names. One after the emperor and one after himself. So how is he called his city? Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea of Philippus. Okay? Caesarea of Philippus. There's another Caesarea, remember where? In the sea. So why do you have to have Maritime? Why do you have to have a second name? Because there's already a Caesarea, so you don't get mixed up. So Caesarea Maritimia on the sea and Caesarea Philippi up here. This will happen in the year -2. Okay, 2 BC. In the year -2, remember that date, it's important. But from now on, we won't hear the name Panion. We hear that he builds his city in the area of Panion, and from now on, this place is going to be called Caesarea Philippi. Funny enough, we know that the people didn't like the name Caesarea Philippi for many reasons. I'm not going to get into it. But what I do know, that at the end of the 1st century AD, this place is going to change its name again, and this time it's going to go backwards. What was the name before Caesarea Philippi? Panion. But Panion is the place of Pan. Now it's the city of Pan. The ending of a city is polis. Okay? Like Constantinopolis. Okay? So here we go. Pan, polis. But polis is just too long. So what do? Banias. The ending is us. It's okay. Banias. Banias with a P. After the god Pan. Only in the 7th century, a group of people will come and conquer the land. And they speak a language that's different from the Greeks. And they have a hard time to pronounce a P. Do you know which people will come here at the 7th century who have a hard time to speak Greek? I don't really know. You are completely right. It's the Arabs, okay, who would speak Arabic, and they'll have a problem with the P of Banias. So Pharaoh becomes... How do you say Pharaoh? Paro. How do you say Paro? What do you say? Here you go. You should say really Baro, right? Most of you would say with a B and not with an F or a P. No P. No P. How do you say Sapapa? Sababa. Sababa. That's it. See, the P becomes a B. So Banias becomes Banias. And welcome to Banias.